Okay, so this video is going to be talking about the situation, what's going to be happening in Europe, which should be either tomorrow or the 26th. I can't recall which one. I believe it is tomorrow when this happens. More specifically in Britain. Right now, the European elections are going on. More specifically, the European Parliament elections. And every single country within the EU has to vote for their own representatives inside the European Parliament, and it is expected that a lot of these countries are gonna support a right wing populist movement, which will sweep into Parliament, or well, the European Parliament. And honestly, I hope that's the case. But the reason why I'm focusing specifically on Great Britain is because of the major situation they have with Brexit, and especially the violence that is associated with it. Now, I will get into that, but I also will mention specifically what I hope and what I think is going to happen after this election is going to occur, when the votes are going to be tallied. So, since 2016, the issue of Brexit has been a major one. It's always been in the news, and ever since then, there has been just a major that there's been a lot of attention, especially within the British media, over the issue of Brexit. They've heavily covered the issue of Theresa May trying to go for different deals with the EU, and how she tried to even get her own home conservative party to try to push out a different deal, which apparently did not have the support of the entire party itself, and even led to a no confidence vote that she narrowly managed to escape. But that was also heavily reported too. Again, the whole Brexit issue, kind of like here in America with the economy and immigration, is a major issue because, well, it has ever since 2016. The British wanted to just separate from the European Union completely, and they just wanted to get it over with. Many of them, especially a guy named Carl Benjamin, who you know as Sargon of Akkad, has actually been pretty vocal about this, and I will get to talk to him about that a little bit as I explain more of this. But this has become a major issue, which has especially led to different parties to actually have a higher turnout. On the last Gallup poll, which was a few days ago, or I believe it was Gallup, it showed that 32% of pollsters actually supported the Brexit Party, led by Nigel Farage. And there was even a case where the Greens and even Change UK were actually either second or third. I think UKIP, the UK Independence Party, which Carl Benjamin I said before was actually a part of that party, is falling behind. It's been steady in its support, retaining at least 3 or 4% of the polled vote. Now, here's the thing: you don't really see the Conservatives or Labour on that, because ever since the dealings with Brexit have gone down the toilet, they have just lost a huge amount of support. And again, considering that at least over 50% of people voted to leave the European Union in 2016, this makes a great lot of sense. After 3 years, people become resentful. So, it has inevitably caused a lot of support, and it's especially hurting the Conservatives a lot more in that area. Labor is still being hit hard, but from right now, they kind of have um, they still kind of have a somewhat solid platform with some of their Remain voters, and I think that's the case somewhat for the conservatives as well, because there are still a few conservatives that voted to remain within the EU at that time. But to continue on, this whole polling and the collapse of the mainstream parties has led to major amounts of I would like to say backlash, but I don't think that's the best word to describe it, because there it's more, I think it's more of fear of the rise of these other parties instead of the mainstream parties. Yeah, I think that would be the best way to describe it, because there have been already major attacks and major demonstrations against groups like UKIP and the pro Brexit Party. In fact, there was even some video showing that Nigel Farage and Carl Benjamin, who again his name is Sargon of Akkad, and I regularly see him on videos, actually was assaulted a few times. One time, as far as I could tell, by on Nigel Farage, and 4 times against Carl Benjamin, 2 of which were actually successful. Now, this was all in part basically because of heavy leftist ideology, because of how much Carl Benjamin and Nigel Farage are considered controversial for their views. In the case of Nigel Farage, he's been especially vocal nationalist, and very much more caring about his country than he is about the EU in general. And Sargon of Akkad, basically because of him being very, very anti-PC, and especially in the case of freedom of speech. He even went so far as to say that he won't apologize for anything. And when the mainstream media went into his Twitter history, they found that he made a joke about a rape. That he said he wouldn't even rape this one person. Now, that was apparently supposed to be a joke, a crude joke, which is something that I would not personally do, but it was a joke nonetheless. But the mainstream media especially hit him hard over that, and Antifa demonstrations were definitely rallied against him, especially, and even more pretty controversial. And like I said before, he was assaulted 4 times, 2 of which were successful by throwing a milkshake. Now, this actually reminds me of a quote I've been recently reading from by Jordan B. Peterson, The 12 Rules for Life, and he actually mentioned a quote by a deaf psychologist named June, I believe. I think I may be pronouncing that wrong because it's not something that I've heard in the English language. But anyway, he said here, I believe it was June who developed the most surgically wicked of psychoanalytic dicta. If you cannot understand why someone did something, look at the consequences and infer the motivation. Now, obviously, this is definitely there is jealousy and resentment, because a lot of the European elections have been dominated by liberal or left-wing political parties, and this is kind of the same attitude that many people had, especially in the United States when Donald Trump was elected. Although it's not on a bigger scale, as it was before, but it also goes into the idea of these guys being afraid of losing their power because of how popular they are among the masses, especially with them providing a right-wing populist viewpoint. So that's why they are doing this. I personally do not like it, but this makes it a completely double-edged sword, because it in turn makes the leftists look bad, and actually rallies more support for these right-wing populist groups. So what do I think is going to happen, and what do I hope is going to happen tomorrow? I hope that the pro-Brexit Party, led by Nigel Farage, makes an overwhelming majority, and also that UKIP manages to gain at least 2 more seats in the European Parliament. The reason why is because this would allow Carl Benjamin and another YouTuber known as Count Dankula, who was controversial about teaching his girlfriend's pub the Hitler salute as a joke, just to diss the Nazis. It would guarantee them a spot within the European Parliament, and that's why I really, really hope. I hope that the Labour Party and the Greens would especially collapse in their support, although it doesn't look like it. And I kind of hope that while the Conservatives do lose ground in this sort of election, which is weird considering that I am a conservative, but considering the issue that's at hand, I would have to say that both UKIP and Brexit, the Brexit Party, are conservative as well. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. I hope that they manage to make it in 3rd place. I hope the Conservative Party manages to make it in 3rd place, and that the entire Labour Party would just be crushed. This would be sent as a clear message to people in Britain and the EU that there is going to be new change, and that people are not going to take the situation that is happening between Great Britain and the EU anymore, and they're just done. What I think is going to happen? I think that the Brexit Party, led by Nigel Farage, will definitely get a majority, but I think that there will be some other parties like the Greens and I think Change UK who will actually be a little bit, I think, opponents. I think Change UK is actually a pro-Brexit party, but I cannot remember at the top of my head at the moment. I'm pretty sure that despite the fact that Labour and the Conservatives are going to be hit badly as a result of the election, I think that they will still have a presence to be made, despite it going to be a small presence. I think this will definitely hurt the Conservatives a lot more than it will the Labour Party. And finally, with UKIP, I think it's going to be relatively the same. Again, I hope that Carl Benjamin and Count Dankula, just as a way to tell other people who don't like freedom of speech, or who just are willing to be offended by anything, or just want to censor everything, to tell them go screw themselves. I really hope they manage to make it into Parliament, but I'm not. But if I am, as a cautious man, I would say UKIP will retain the current seats that it has. At the very most, I think they would be able to get at least 1 seat. But it does seem like there isn't really going to be much electoral change when it comes to UKIP. So that is my complete thoughts and analysis on the issue. All I can tell is that it's going to be a major change after the elections are going to happen tomorrow. The question is, will they change for the worse or for the better? I certainly hope it's for the better. My name is Noah Meehan on the Arc of Truth. Please post your comments down below. Subscribe, like this video, and share it with your friends. And I would love to read all of your comments down below. Thank you.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains.